what I want to do in this very quick talk is to talk about what means be Ethereum aligned, but not in about, okay, like you need to be open source and stuff. No, in about to understanding why these values are important, like for the space, for the future, and for everything. And understand like why crypto exists since. So let's start by this, because now, like, you know, like a lot of people now are basically degens doing stuff, but, and also we have things that are like differently decentralized and stuff. And I think it's kind of cool to coming back to understand like why the industry exists. Because why crypto exists, where we started. We can say that something we started was DigiCash in '82, where it was this idea about, you know, like having digital payments with signatures that are outside from banks. And why we don't talk about DigiCash anymore is because it was just shut down, because all of the transaction and the existence of DigiCash was in a server of a company. And so it was just shut down by governments. Then we have like the idea of triple entry bookkeeping, which is this kind of idea that instead of having like, okay, bank A and bank B who track like in and out, and we hope in some way to have an agreement between the two, we have just a big bookkeeping who simultaneously take in and out, and that's like the triple entry account. And then we have, for example, Napster. Why are you talking about Napster in a crypto event? Because what solves the idea of double spending and things, it was actually the technology of Napster. Because the hashing is when, for example, on Napster you put a file, and this file can be shared and downloaded by other people. This means that you have like hashing this file, and you have like a unique ID, and so people can share this file. Actually, it's a very cool technology, but it doesn't solve the problem that you can add a file, which is like, for example, Harry Potter, and then it's a porn. Because you don't verify the creation of the file, you just verify that it's the same file that people share. And here is when there was like the proof of work. So the invention of Satoshi Nakamoto, which was this idea of having of creating like these incentives to actually about reward to the right incentives to actually like creating the right data that then you share between different validators and stuff. If you want, I can go deep about these things, but it's pretty much like common knowledge in crypto. And all of these things together, they created Michael Saylor. No, I'm joking. They created Bitcoin, which I prefer to call it the orange coin. So basically, it's a triple entry bookkeeping with cryptographic signatures, like DigiCash, distributed block verification, so verification of the shared stuff like Napster, and economic incentives that prevent double spending and make Ethereum resistant from shutdown, censorship, and so on and so forth. So what in the industry is important is that we always need to remember that crypto is here not because it was legal, but because it was legit, because it was very difficult to shut down, it just works. And this is where all of the value came from. This is why like our token have value, and which is like, what is the end, like the why, like decentralization, and what is bring from on the table? It's like fault tolerance, because if one part fails, everyone else keep working. Attack resistance, so the expense of an attack is bigger than actually what you can get to just act in a good way. And collusion resistance, so this means that you prevent insiders to benefit at the cost of all the others. So this is like what's bring decentralization into the table. And yeah, now we are like gaslighted by the classic idea about, oh, no one cares about decentralization, which is true for this kind of people. But it's not true for this kind of people that for sure is important. Because having a centralized point of failure is bring hackers. Legal uncertainty, we all know, and these people have armies. So we should really care about this. And then what's happened? What's happened? The idea of smart contract, which is very easy. Just have a virtual machine that is able to run scripts fully on chain. And this is what's created like the idea of the worldwide computer. I'm just trying to be fast and not like going into deep. And so we have tokens, NFT. DAOs, and so on and so forth. And so we have dApps, okay? Which also here, we can say, we have some dApps that are more aligned with is what I like to call like the Web3, and some that was like, Web 2.1, which we can divide in, for example, like you have persistent scripts that runs on the EVM, independent from any off-chain authority, which is basically like it's limiting the own execution on the EVM. Like for example, like take Uniswap v2, okay? Is no upgradability, there is no oracle required to run, so no off-chain data, no ownership, and it's totally permissionless. And then we are like going into the Web 2.1, which is like, okay, let's take, for example, like some application like Balancer that, yes, there is all of this stuff, but you have like a semi-upgradability which doesn't touch user money, but it touches like the logic around it. And then we have like, okay, applications, for example, that to require to run, they need like to be upgradable if the choice, or to need Oracle to run. Like for example, you can take Uniswap v2, you can make your own interface and it just works. But you cannot take an application which require a backend, like for example, a perps. And, or for example, like MakerDAO with oracles or whatever. And then you have like Web 2, which is like exchanges or games. So basically things that they just use the blockchain to receive the funds, and then it's all about their own logic. And then you have like something that is in the middle here, in the middle there, like for example, Aave, yes, they have some updates, but at the same time it's not like a Balancer. Or you have, for example, Polymarket, which, yeah, it's not exactly a checks, but it's kinda. Then we have the same for assets. Like we have, like for example, if we adjust the utility stuff, like what is the best utility that just on-chain is work? Like what? It just like wrap Ethereum to use an ERC20 and doesn't have upgradability, it just has its own utility there. Then we can talk about like, for example, like we have like other tokens where the utility is based on someone off-chain, someone else off-chain efforts. Like for example, mostly the DAO's token, or even a meme coin with ownership announced, we can put it here. And then we have like, you know, even here we have upgradable, oracles required to run and stuff like this, until we go to the actually, is it real crypto? Like for example, like stable coins, centralized stable coins. The all utility of these coins is about like one real world company who is exchanging this to $, or for example, an NFT, which the flex is on the image. And then we have like, so the direction to the Web3 is this one. And then we have like other challenges like that people like that would solve like in Ethereum. And here like we have a lot of people who don't think about it in this way, but I want just to share, like for example, security budget. Like for example, why Ethereum went from the proof of work to the proof of stake. For one simple reason, because the security budget of the chain in a proof of work is not like 100% guaranteed, because it's defined also by off-chain stuff, like for example, electricity or whenever, you know, like computation, but it's also like, there is a lot of talking about like, is the security budget, which is the most important thing in a chain, like really secure for making this chain like run infinitely, like for example in a proof of work? Because here, for example, we have, taking for example like Bitcoin, we have like the miner's reward that, okay, they're cutting up like every single time. And for example, you see like you have the miner's earnings, which is like, and the cost, like for example, the hash rate that's go parabolic. And what is the deal is why this is not like mathematically secure that it will run infinitely, is that if the price doesn't go up infinitely as the hash rate go down, and the cost of attack is less and less and less because the security budget go down, and this like is fixed. And then like we can talk about anonymity and privacy when we have like, for example, what is means like mining Bitcoin and what is means like validating Ethereum, but that's like another story, which is a bit of flex. And then you have, for example, the proof of stake, which is like a flexible issuance that depends on how much people stake. There is also the deflationary part, which is like AP 1155, like for example, that based on transaction, like how people use it, like it's is basically reducing the supply. And And so this means that only about this, like whenever happen into the real world and whenever happen in the market, you are pretty much secure that there is enough like security budget to run the network infinitely. Then you have obviously like penalties per block, and actually the proof of work of Ethereum is resilient to 66% attack, and we can talk an entire event about why, because it's pretty much complex for a lot of people. Instead of 51% of hash rate like there, it's consuming like 99% less energy, and is like anon friendly, as we saw here, because it's very difficult to be anon when you need this to mine. And it's very easy to be anon when you just need like a small ARM computer or something like and just go around. And yeah, like concentration, but this is just a flex. Let's go forward. And then we have this, the scalability, for example, the classic idea about like, okay, how we scale like the crypto stuff, like which like most of the alternative layer one that are out there, like what they do, they just like renounce on decentralization and security to just having scalability, and it's pretty much what is going on, where the challenge on the Ethereum side, it was made by layer 2s. So for who don't know what is a layer 2, it's just like, okay, we can have these miracle proofs, and so you can run like off-chain computation, which bring you like security about the fact that if you have an asset into a layer 2, you can redeem this asset into layer 1, and you're pretty much secure that on the time that required to do the validation, like what's happened there, it's secured by Ethereum itself at some level of degree. And so this is what we have now. I think we achieved like today like 3,500 transactions per second actually, taking the 5,000 today? Oh, even more. And also this brings like a lot of experimentation out there, because there is a lot of different layer 2s are raising fund, especially like the level of experimentation that there was in ZK when layer 2 started, like is insane, for example, into the validation perspective. And also like a lot of non-financial applications, like take Forecaster, for example. And so yeah, and this is how like it's scaling, like maintaining like security and decentralization. It will scale like in way more time because the challenge are the big one. And even here, we have a lot to talk about decentralization. Because, for example, yeah, you have like, I don't know if some of you follow, like, for example, the different stages into like L2 bits. Like, we didn't reach like an actually decentralized layer 2 as it is supposed to be, but we have, you know, like step-by-step project who are trying to achieve this is long term. Then we have like sidechain that doesn't give you like, for example, asset security. You have just upsell economic security. Then you have alternative WEM like chains, which are basically like, you don't have this asset security, but at least whenever happen, there is like, it's more decentralized in terms of just routing the way you can escape, for example, to a more secure chain. And then you have non-WEM alternative layer 1, which mostly like the real way it doesn't require a third party is a checks. And then you have checks, which just like, okay, we have proof of funds. That's the only decentralized thing that they can do. And there is like Binance Smart Chain, which I don't know if it's like on this side or this side. I think for now I will just put here. And so why, like, for example, from the Ethereum Foundation and Vitalik, why we need Ethereum Cypherpunk again? Which actually, Vitalik in this position is more like, why we need Ethereum Cypherpunk again, bro? But, okay, the whole idea of what we require for the industry to go forward is having like global participation, auditability, so building open source, be able to audit, decentralization, kind of obvious, credible neutrality, is the only, like I can say, is the only flag that only Ethereum have. Censorship resistance, tool, not empire, so this means like try to make tools that other one can improve, not just to try to make yours like more powerful than others, and cooperation. And if you think about all of this stuff, it's the same line from Web 2.1 to Web 3. Like on nation state control, so something that is not like decentralized enough, you can have cooperation, yes, you can create tools, yes, but to having censorship resistance, auditability, global participation, decentralization, you need credible neutrality. And that's why it's so important to try to stay as much as possible. Let me see if it works, this. Yeah, oh yeah, it works. Here. Because this is the challenge that we have in the space. And this is why we have value. Because if not, we are like one coin. I don't know if someone remembers this. It was a Ponzi scheme. Actually, I saved my mother to investing on it. To don't invest on it, I mean. And there is also like a lot of challenges that are going now right now. For example, light clients, which is a very cool stuff that very few people talk about, and I would love to have someone that will talk about this, like in ETHTbilisi. Privacy, which it will be like mostly the main topic on November. Parallel execution, ZK scaling, state minimalization, and UX, which is like the challenge that are approaching right now. And all of this with the hard goal of incorruptibility. Even if you're constantly gaslighted by people that say, my blockchain is faster and cheaper, you have people who say, I extract better there because it's faster. Other people who say, a new token to farm, I'm in. At the same time, like normal people in crypto that understand what is going on, they say, we should regulate crypto, and politicians who say, not today. But what means be Ethereum aligned, and why is important like all of this? My reply to this, which is like basically like try to drive the ecosystem to this. But my personal reply is working on a solution that makes sense to achieve the Web3. So everything will stay on this side. Not excuses to launch a token. I don't like money probably, but this is how things work. And so on this side you have things that are worldwide, independent and secure, and on this side we have politic, regulated, and something that require, like humans and stuff to be trustable. And what's Vitalik think about this? It's open source, so code must be inspectable and permissionless. Decentralization and security, I think we talk a lot about this. And open standards, so don't reinvent the wheel. Like there is like an ERC to do this, don't reinvent, because it's create exploit balancer. And issue interoperability about wallets and application and so on and so forth. And especially build stuff which have a positive sum, both for Ethereum, which contributed to open source, donate whenever you can, and also for the world, so enable financial inclusion, because all of this is here not to make you rich, but to make you free. And if we are too much into try to make rich at some point, like everything we have, it doesn't value anything anymore because we're building like a Ponzi over a Ponzi over a Ponzi over the Ponzi. And especially not gaslight, which means like if something you're doing for some reason, don't say like, oh, but I'm doing a positive sum because with my meme I make people rich. Is not like a real positive sum. So that was pretty much like the conversation that I want to introduce, because it's like some topics that very people, that it's not trendy to talk about it. Like for example, what is the value of decentralization? And so what is ETHTbilisi about? ETHTbilisi is to give voice by merit. What we want to achieve is a community of people who are actually doing something that matters on Ethereum, and also like bring here all of the voices that are building stuff that are actually important for, I can say, the future. And so this is why, for example, like the November season, which is like from the next event on, is is laser focused, I will say, on privacy, which we will have, like, for example, like from Hinkal, like UX and compliance of privacy, which is a very cool topic because they build a wallet where you can stay anon when you're using it. And so also like the part, okay, like if I have a wallet which is anon and it's very cool and how it works, how can I use this money to the real world? What is the compliance there? We also have, for example, like Lucid, which it will talk about like ZK and the future of privacy. So straight and limit, like understanding what we are talking about this. And to finally eviscerate like this topic, we have one of my personal friends actually, which is like a Zlatan. So this means like when a DeFi application is hacked, this is the guy who finds like exactly who hacked this, where he lives, and how to put your lawyer and get the money back. And it will talk about the importance of on-chain privacy and how we are basically fucked in terms of privacy and how to pretty much improve. And it's gonna be like, it will be very, very interesting. Then on December, we have another like very cool topic, which is truth. I invited Matteo Tambussi, which is like a researcher on the Ethereum Community Fund, which what they're doing is try to basically build like the Web3 version of Wikipedia, which is now, it's kind of like a topic because we have Wikipedia that some people say, okay, this is like politically involved stuff, and then we have like Rookpedia from Elon, and we say, oh, it's probably, I don't know, political, but you have also like the fact that someone owned this AI, and so like, is it possible to create something better? We will discover together. And then like we have, for example, December 10, December 17, that we also like have to decide what we will do, and maybe like we can decide together like in the next hour. And also like all of the talks and stuff from ETHTbilisi, they will go on YouTube. You can follow on X like @ETHTbilisi, on Instagram @ETHTbilisi, and on Telegram @ETHTbilisi. And so what we will do in the future, it will be like mostly, we want to build like very, very important conversation on the space and bring here to Tbilisi. And we want also to make hackathons together for something that really matters. And we will talk about this like later, like going on with the creation of this community. And that's it. We just want to have the Cypherpunk vibes and create value as much as possible. And who am I? I'm Base Toski. I'm an Ethereum maxi since 2016, probably like the worst one you can ever met in your entire life. And I'm a coder, I'm a maths guy, I'm an opinionist, an entrepreneur, and an investor. Like I did my X project in DeFi, which was about DAOs and DeFi. I was an early supporter of building, for example, like the communities, for example, in Italy, back in the days. And now I have my project, which I'm a solo founder, which even if it's the sponsor, we will not doing advertising, we will skip it. And because that's the kind of sponsorship we are searching about. And so thank you to be here, and I hope we will like create the most interesting community on Ethereum. And that's like why I'm trying to. And so yeah, there is a Pope, and also like now you can get the T-shirt, which is only for people who participate into this one by following on Twitter and entering into the Telegram. The Pope, you can get it like without these tasks. And there is way more people than I expected, so there is probably not enough T-shirt, but if you do the task on the next event next week, you will get your extra T-shirts, actually. So sorry for this. We expect way less people today. And I'm very happy of this, and that there is more people, actually.